All right, so the first topic for today, the 3050. All right, regardless of what you may think, it's actually not a bad card. Now, I'm going to get to the reasons why it might be in a moment, but according to the numbers that's come out, Gamers Nexus, all the YouTubers have done reviews, testing, and all that good stuff. Let me get to the bottom line. If you are looking for a graphics card and you don't want to spend a lot of money and you don't plan on upgrading, it's not a bad card if you can get it for MSRP. In my opinion, that's under $300, between $250 and $300, because you're not going to find it for under $250. That's just not possible right now. Let's go over some specs. The 3050 is built on the same Ampere architecture as the 3060 Ti. It uses 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM, same kind on the 3060 Ti rather. And the card has 2,560 CUDA cores, has a base clock of 1.55 gigahertz, boost clock of 1.78 gigahertz, and a 128-bit memory interface. And it seems to be targeted at 1080p gaming, which is still, in my opinion, like a bare bit minimum standard. It's still a good standard. I think everyone should be at 1080p gaming. The days of 720p are over. Let's just go into some performance specs. I am still recovering from human malware, so I'll still be hacking up a little bit. The 3050's performance, compared to cards that launched over 3 years ago, it's kind of the same, which is very sad. So the 2060 KO still beats it, which is sad because that came out almost 2.5 years ago at this point. The 3050 is slightly faster than the 1066 gigabyte, and it's also slightly faster than the 1660. It is also confirmed to have LHR, which, if you guys don't know, that is NVIDIA's face-saving measure called light hash rate. It's also a bit slower than it's like very, very close in performance to the 1070, even though it's over 3 years old. Last thing, it is branded as an RTX GPU, but playing ray tracing and all the eye candy on is probably not recommended, because getting a decent frame rate of at least 30 to 60 FPS probably very difficult in most games. So going into that, I'm going to get to a different part of that in just a moment. But Andrew, have you heard about this card?
No, I actually haven't heard about it until today. So,
I mean, you're not missing much.
No, honestly, I've got some talking points for it. I think the price is probably in this market the sweet spot right now. 250 to 300 is not a whole lot of money for a graphics card. We talked about it with the 6500 XT coming out at $199. That's cheap in this market. There are not GPUs that are worth buying at that price point. 6500 XT kind of included.
Mm-hmm.
The 3050, not a bad card for $249. The thing to look at in terms of price and value for this particular card is what you actually get when you're going over MSRP. You know, it's fine. Maybe you want some RGB. That's fine if you want to pay extra for it. But if you're looking at cards over $300 that don't have any special features or anything that might stand out to you as being a value add, then you really shouldn't be going over $300. Most of the cards that have factory OCs at higher MSRPs only have an 80 megahertz overclock.
Maybe.
Not something you're going to see in terms of performance. You won't notice it at all. You're probably talking about 1% performance increase, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
With all that being said, I do think it's not a bad idea to get a card like this over a used card at a similar price point. So even if the 2060 or the 1060 kind of surrounded in terms of performance, I think the 3050 is still a good buy because it has the latest version of NVIDIA's ray tracing cores, their RT cores, and they're going to perform a bit better than the 2000 series GPUs. So while it might not be the most performant card on the market, those ray tracing cores are going to be more efficient, and they're actually going to perform better in terms of enabling ray tracing without taking so much of a performance hit. And that, I think, is key because NVIDIA wants people to use ray tracing. It's the future of gaming, whether you're on NVIDIA or not. But I think this card if it can achieve 1080 60 with ray tracing, then that's fine for a lot of people. At this price point especially, they're not going to have super high expectations. They're going to be wanting to play the game at a frame rate that's actually playable, and I think this card is going to deliver on that promise.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. It also has, like as you were saying, the second generation of RT cores. First generation was a 2000 series, 3000 series, the second generation. So they are more efficient, take less energy, perform better, all that good stuff. I will say another thing one thing I like about the card is that it's typically much smaller. So being that it's such a low wattage card, this might be the perfect card for a really tiny compact ITX build for like a streaming machine in your living room. Don't want to make a lot of noise, don't want to take a lot of space, want it to look aesthetically pleasing, all that good stuff. So GPU prices have come down quite a bit, like a lot. So from the high of nearly 3x MSRP or a 3080 and such on eBay, we've gone down to nearly MSRP if you include the cost of fees, shipping, and e-commerce. Okay, so let me explain. If this GPU, whatever, costs $1,000 for me to sell it on eBay and for me to get $1,000 in my pocket, I'd have to add 15 to 13%. eBay takes 13% right off the top. So $1,350 would probably be about the price on eBay if it was MSRP. Now, with all that said, if you look at cards right now on eBay, oh yeah, they are getting close. The 3090, for example, is regularly going for $2,500 to $3,000 instead of $4,500, $4,000, $3,500, crazy numbers. The LHR cards are all very close to MSRP, all within like 1.5 times. So with that, Andrew, with this card coming out, taking off pressure off the market, I think this finally kills the GPU shortage, right? We're done. This is it. We're back to a normal market. Isn't that correct? All of our problems are solved.
Not quite. The thing is, I think we're getting closer, though. I think we're getting closer. The thing is, a card like this, you would expect to sell more just because more people can afford it. But NVIDIA is still going to want to be making 3060 Ti's. And actually, it's 3060s that use the same die, rather. So unless they're getting these bad dies that have to be cut down into lower-end cards, they're probably still going to try and produce more 3060s, capture a little bit more profit. But I think the big thing for this card, the big value that it has to gamers, is that it performs a little bit better than a 1660 Ti, but it offers the latest ray tracing technology, so you can enjoy games with full eye candy if you want. And it has the latest version of DLSS, so that's really going to help with performance, as well as quality and gaming in the future. I think those are huge features that an older card, 16 series, 10 series GPUs are they're going to have to slowly fade out of existence because they're not going to keep up without those technologies. So even though this is a fairly low-end card in today's lineup, the 30 series, it's the most basic card NVIDIA has right now, I think it will have a longer lifespan than a lot of those older cards. I think this card could still be used in a few years because NVIDIA is constantly developing that technology to give this card more performance, whether that's through new versions and iterations of DLSS or whatever else.
Yeah, and last thing I want to touch on that is compared to the 6500 XT launch that removed features that are going to be critical to something as simple as playing a YouTube video in the next couple of years, right? This card, the 3050, is not missing any of that. It has it all. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, it has the same encoders and stream processors on it, the actual silicon. So it won't be exactly the same, but it'd be like 90% of what you get on a 3090 for encoding video and stuff. So alternatively, like for me, if I can get one of these at MSRP, I'm ripping my other Kingpin out and putting one of these in, because That's all it's going to be doing. It's just going to be encoding video. The encoder chip ASIC part of the silicon is all basically the same in the same generation of cards. So 3000 series all basically have the same chip. It's the rest of the die that's bigger that has more, oomph.
Yeah, exactly. So the NVENC encoder and decoder are going to be the same as the other cards in the 30 series lineup. Um, the honestly the number of CUDA cores in this card is still pretty significant for a 50 series GPU. So I honestly don't think it's a weak card by any means. I do think that the memory bus is a little bit of a handicap, but
Mm-hmm.
it keeps it in line with the price point and the performance you would expect, and creates enough separation between it and the 3060 that there is still potential for them to drop a 3050 Ti.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, come on, guys. If they make it, it's gonna sell in this market. So I think it's gonna happen. One last thing before we move on to the next subject is if you look at Newegg right now on eBay, these cards are currently, the cheapest one I could find on Newegg is $529 at the moment. The cheapest 65 the cheapest 6500 XT I could find is $270. So people obviously want these cards a little bit more than the other one, probably because it's actually better. Did you have anything else on that, Andrew?
No, I mean honestly, I think it's a great value at 249, and up to 300. It's, in my opinion, I think it's a buy if you're on, let's say, a 10 series GPU or older, or just building a new computer. And if you don't have a computer right now, it's probably going to play the games you want to play just fine. If you don't
Exactly.
have high expectations coming from a high-end card to begin with, this is really the sweet spot between price to performance. You can get a better card, but you're paying a good amount more money.
More percentage for
So,
less performance.
yeah, exactly. You're getting diminishing return right off the bat. So for 249, you want to play some games, you can go ahead and do that. You can pair it with a fairly affordable Ryzen CPU
Mm-hmm.
and have a computer that's going to last for years. A little bit more versatile and probably a little bit longer of a lifespan than if you were to quote unquote invest in a console. But that's really up to the buyer if they want to get a PC or a console. But some people have to choose one or the other, and they need a computer for work, school, whatever. So this card kind of allows people to have the best of both worlds at a reasonable price.